Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. An Hour with Dave. The Constitution. And what we're going to do for your first case is we got the Honorable Kevin BARBSON coming on. And I hope I pronounced his name right, but that's the Puerto Rican in me too. But, you know, he's going to come on. He's going to introduce himself. This is the honorable judge that we would like you to consider and push to vote for the Supreme Court. He is actually the best candidate you're going to get. He's understanding. He's fair. He's been on the bench for a long time. But I'm not going to tell you all the thing about him. I'm going to let you meet him yourself. Your Honor, you here?
I'm here, Dave. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're quite welcome, sir. We hope to have you back several times during this campaign of yours. It's important, and we're telling the audience how important it is that they get to learn about you, understand about you. So how about if you introduce yourself, and then when you're ready, go into the first, and then we'll take a quick break and go into the Second Amendment for you.
Sure, sounds good. My name is Kevin BARBSON. I'm the President Judge of the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania, one of our two statewide appellate courts. This is the court in Pennsylvania that makes sure government follows the law. So I'm so happy that Dave gave me the opportunity to come and talk to you about the Bill of Rights, which is the first 10 amendments to the Constitution that, in fact, make sure the federal government protects your rights and doesn't interfere with your freedoms. So it's great to be here. I've been a judge for over 11 years, working for the people of Pennsylvania as a trial and appellate court judge. And before that, 14 years making sure government followed the law for my clients in private practice. On top of that, I'm a dad of 3 kids, a husband for 22 years, the most wonderful woman in the world who puts up with me, and just pleased to be in this great country of ours and celebrating the birth of our nation this weekend. I've had a lot of opportunities to do that. So, it's great to be able to sit here in my house and talk to you all today, and talk to Dave and answer any questions that Dave has, and then sort of talk about the Bill of Rights, which let's move right into. I mean, I think the people of Pennsylvania in particular, if not the country, have been through a lot these past 18 months. And we've seen the mighty hand of government and how it can impact how we educate our children, how we care for our elderly, how we protect our historic and natural resources, how we administer our elections, and goodness, how we conduct our businesses and raise our families, and provide the resources that we need to the people that we care about. And the Bill of Rights, the first 10 amendments to the Constitution, were put into place because at the time of the Constitution's ratification, there was a group of people called the Anti-Federalists that felt that the form in our Constitution, the form of government, that the presidency was too strong, that there was a concern that our president might someday become a monarch. So as a compromise, the people who ratified the Constitution also agreed to these first 10 amendments to the Constitution, the Bill of Rights. And those first 10 amendments are the ones that protect us from government. And the first one is probably the most important one, the right to give us the freedom of speech, the freedom of press, the freedom of religion, the freedom to peaceably assemble, the freedom to petition our government, and particularly in times of unrest, in times of a global pandemic, in time where our schools are being shut down, and where our businesses are being shut down, where some businesses on one side of the street can stay open, but other businesses on the other side of the street are closed. That First Amendment is so critical because it gives us that right to petition the government. And all of these rights in the First Amendment and the other amendments to the Bill of Rights are made applicable to the states through the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. So these first 10 amendments were created to limit the power of federal government. When the 14th Amendment passed, are now also able to limit the powers of state government. So that's why that First Amendment is so critical. Freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, freedom of press, right to petition your government, These are critical foundational rights that the government cannot infringe upon. So that's why it's first in my view. It's one of the most critical.
And it's important. And one of the things that happened here on the previous election, where they took away a little bit of the power that the governor was taking upon himself to keep the place closed, the city closed down, to keep businesses closed down, to keep extending the curfews and everything else, and the stores keep closed. He lost that one. That does that play a big role? I mean, that was scary. That's part of what you're going to do now, right? Is watch it. What's going on?
Yeah, it really was scary. It really was an unprecedented time. I've never seen it in my life. If you would have told me when I ran in 2009, if I would have said something like you in 2009 when I was trying to become a Commonwealth Court judge, that you need to elect me to be there in case the governor shuts down your school, shuts down your churches, shut down your business, people would have thought I was crazy. They would have thought I was absolutely cuckoo. But here we are in 2021, and this is exactly what happened. The governor of Pennsylvania shut down our schools, shut down our churches, shut down businesses. And that's where the Bill of Rights made applicable to the states by the 14th Amendment are so critical, particularly the part about petitioning for redress of governance, of government action. Even in our Pennsylvania Constitution, we have that right, that ability in the Pennsylvania Constitution to seek judicial review of government action. But the courts weren't really responsive to the wishes of the people. Some of these businesses that wanted to challenge not getting waivers to be open, the street across the business across the street gets a waiver, but another business doesn't. And I think there's a lot of people in Pennsylvania that were disappointed that the courts, particularly our Supreme Court, didn't exercise a more robust review. And I think we saw that when the constitutional amendments came up. Over 50% of the people of Pennsylvania said, no, we need to have this check and balance on our executive branch. And if the Supreme Court wasn't going to do it, then they had to do it by constitutional amendment. And that's where you saw the people rise up and amend the Pennsylvania Constitution in response to what they perceived as a lack of response from our judiciary.
Yeah, it's a scary thing. And I kept screaming and shouting because I found it ironic that we couldn't have our churches open. We didn't have our schools open, but we had liquor stores open. And we had bars open where you can go and order your drinks to go home, to take out. Yet they closed the schools down on the children. And this year is probably going to be one of the worst years for our educational system when it comes to the public system right now. And our children, it's scary.
Yeah. And I have a 13-year-old son in the public school system, and he was in 3 different schools in one school year, just trying to find that educational opportunity that was going to work for him. He's a very social kid, and the Zoom stuff wasn't working and things like that. And I have another son who was in private school, in a Catholic school and he was in school practically all year, unabated. There were times when they were out, but most of the part they were in. This inequity, is just something that it's hard for people to understand. And that's why it's so important to have courts that are going to be there to hear these challenges. Dave, you hit it right on the head. The big box stores were open. You could go to Costco, you could go to Target, you could go to Walmart, but that mom and pop shop in downtown Philadelphia, where communities would go to patronize and to get things they needed in their homes, those were closed. And people are scratching their head trying to understand why.
Yeah, they were closed, and also a lot of the small little restaurants and pizza shops, and everybody took a beating. The nail salons and all the little stores. And Philadelphia has tons of little stores that are supporting. I know here in the Spanish community, we have the Golden Block that has hair salons and little restaurants, and we have them in the city. It hurt us. It hurt a lot of the businesses here. Meantime, like you said, you had Walmart open. The supermarkets were all open. And it just baffled me that you had lines 2-3 blocks long at liquor stores.
Yeah.
and you couldn't do anything about it. And the more we screamed, the more people were losing out. And that was extremely scary. So we're I want to make sure that people get to know you, get to know what you're doing, because it's important that we have the right person in the seat that's coming up. You don't want a person in there who's going to be a yes sir to the governor and the mayor, and not looking at the rights of the people, especially with the Bill of Rights. And the people need to understand that. So I'm hoping that, and we're going to keep this message going out and get you also to come back, and not that you're leaving now because you got the Second Amendment to do. But we're trying to make sure that your message gets out. It's important that the people get to know you. So we really appreciate you coming here. It's time we got left. Okay, so with the First Amendment now, we know that we took that power. Is there any chance that that strength is going to go back to the governor with the ability to shut us down whenever he wants?
Well, the only thing that those amendments did was they allowed the General Assembly, our legislative branch. We have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial branch. They allowed our legislative branch to undo a declaration like the governor did. But there could be something else. There could be something else that comes along. And like I said, I don't want to prognosticate what could happen, because if I throw out something that's crazy, people will say I'm crazy. Like I said, 2009, who would have thought? But here's what I think people need to worry about. We need to have a Supreme Court that will be, and a judicial system generally in Pennsylvania, that will be a watchdog for the rights of people. And too many Pennsylvanians feel that the judicial branch is not doing that. I will be a check and balance on the Supreme Court, on the executive branch, that too many people think are missing from the Supreme Court right now. I will protect the constitutional rights of the people. I will hold the government accountable. And the only you don't have to take my word for it. I have an 11-year track record on the court and 14 years in private practice before that. That's all I have done. Make sure government follows the law. Make sure your constitutional rights are protected, and be fair. Because at the end of the day, people just want to know that the deck isn't stacked against them when they sue the government. The government's got an unlimited amount of resources, your tax dollars, unlimited number of attorneys that they have hired or can hire. The people of Pennsylvania need to know that when their rights are being affected and they petition the courts for redress, that there's going to be a judge that's going to listen to them. And that's the judge that I am, and it's the judge I will be.
And let me ask you this. When they say that the Biden administration is looking to add seats to all the Supreme Courts, the local and the main one, is that an easy possibility for him to do?
It's not going to be easy for him to deal with on the state Supreme Court. The state Supreme Court is something that the federal government can't touch in terms of how it's constituted. But look, I think the court packing has been a discussion for a long time in our history about raising the number of United States Supreme Court justices. Personally, I think it's a bad idea. I just think, I agree. It basically says that if we lose elections, our solution is to increase the number of justices on the Supreme Court. And we really don't want our Supreme Court to be politicized, our United States or our Pennsylvania Supreme Court. It's not a number of justices. It's the quality of the jurisprudence. It's the quality of the background of the people. It's different voices, different experiences that we need to bring. So we have, all people of Pennsylvania represented, not just one political party or one particular geography or one particular background. It's very important that we have a diverse court, diverse background. And there's nobody on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court right now from the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania that has my experience holding government accountable. So I think court packing is bad at either level, but I'm not sure it's likely to happen at the United States Supreme Court either. I think cooler minds will prevail on that.
Yeah, I agree. And one thing that I have to say in checking up on your background and your work is that you're fair, and that's what I'm trying to get people to understand too. Not only that you're fair, that doesn't matter what party you're with, what race you're with, what your ethnic background is. You're going to be fair because wrong is wrong and right is right. And I believe that about you, and I believe that you're going to take that in with you. So we're getting ready to take our commercial break, and Your Honor's going to be back, and we're going to have him come up, and he's going to have some time to talk about the Second Amendment, and everybody could follow him. He's also going to be on our Rumble show, which is Freedom Not Tyranny, which you can follow him, and we're going to see if we can get him to also come on and talk some more about on the Rumble Show about who he is, what his goals are, what he plans on doing with you, because you can see that he's a super nice person. And it's great to have a judge that you can actually feel that you can talk to. So let's go on break, and we'll be back right after the commercial. Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 Hour with Dave. He'll introduce you again because I know I keep mispronouncing his last name. But he already did talked about the First Amendment. He's going to talk about the Second Amendment. I need people to pay attention to him. The honorable judge here is an incredible person, incredible background, and I really need you to pay attention to what he's got to say and get to meet him and know who he is. His character is exactly what we need in our Supreme Court. We can't fail him. We got to get out there. We got to get the votes out for this guy. We got to make sure that he's there and spread the word out. Everybody that's out there, take this show, put it on your Facebook page, let everybody see who he is. We're going to keep promoting what's going on with him. It's imperative. Your Honor, you're on.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. And again, it's just such a great opportunity to be here with you today and your listeners. And again, 4th of July weekend, should ever be everybody's favorite holiday, the birth of our nation. And talking about the Bill of Rights. I mean, look, this is the most important document probably crafted in our nation. The Constitution sets forth our framework of government, but also these first 10 amendments protecting us. We talked a little bit about the First Amendment. And all of the rights encompassed in that one. And the Second Amendment gets a lot of attention, and primarily because of what it says. But I want to talk a little bit about the Pennsylvania Constitution too. But we were talking about the Second Amendment, and a well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state. The right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. And again, this right to bear arms in the Constitution predates even the birth of our nation. In Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution, there is no doubt you have the right to keep and bear arms in defense of yourself. And that's what it specifically says. So the Constitution of the United States sort of sets the floor, but the Pennsylvania Constitution creates the additional rights or the additional clarity by saying the right of the citizens to bear arms in defense of themselves and the state shall not be questioned. Now, of course, this doesn't mean you get to go out and everybody gets to go on the corner of the street and buy a bazooka or a howitzer or a grenade cannon or something like that, or a rail gun. That's not what this is about. Our country has a long history of fighting against violence and gun violence and the misuse of these things, and even regulating who may and may not have a firearm in defense of themselves. Maybe they've acted in a way that forfeits their right to keep and bear arms due to some crime that they committed, some horrendous crime that they committed. Maybe they suffer from some sort of mental impairment or something that makes them unable to have a weapon in a safe and honorable way. But the right still is there, and it's a right in our Bill of Rights, and it's the second one. There was a lot of debate about the Second Amendment to the Constitution, and people out there still debate it to this day about whether all it means is that you're entitled to have a rifle, a hunting rifle at home in the case, God forbid, that our country calls up militias to defend us from an invasion from another foreign land. And they focus on that reference to the militia clause. But in reality, our Supreme Court of the United States has interpreted the Constitution to say the right to bear arms is really the operative function of that clause. And there's been constitutional decisions from the United States Supreme Court interpreting it. But the Second Amendment and Article 1, Section 21 of the Pennsylvania Constitution have a strong precedence in our nation, even before the birth of our nation. It is a right to protection. It's a right to self-protection. And the government does have a role in regulating it to a certain extent, but it can't be infringed in a way that deprives you of the right wholeheartedly. So it's a very important part of the Constitution, and something like every other part of the Constitution, judges, particularly our Supreme Court, has to be careful to make sure that there isn't government overreach locally or statewide or nationally to infringe that right beyond the ability of government to protect other people.
Well, yeah, I believe wholeheartedly in it. I do also believe that if you have a individual who has a weapon or is trying to purchase a weapon, I do believe in a good background check personally. And I know because I am a gun owner, legal gun owner. I got the judge in front of me, a legal gun owner. But we know that the crime that's committed in the streets are not people who go purchase where I would, or anybody that buys a gun legally. They're purchased illegally in the street. But even on the legal end of it, because the street's one issue, because I think that they keep coming after legal guns, but the crime that's being committed in the shooting that's committed in Philadelphia, look at Chicago alone this weekend, 45 people shot, 10 killed. I mean, in the streets, it's not like they went to a gun shop and went to the background like I did. But also, I believe that we need to have something in place that if a person has a mental health or develops a mental health issue, especially violence, that there should be some system or checkpoint where you're going to know if this person developed this thing, and if they have their weapon, that we could have them or the family member bring it in until this is evaluated, that him or her is okay, and then maybe we can cut back on that end of a crime, because that does concern me. If somebody has a mental health issue, I don't know if that's even in there, if something like that is possible. I don't know.
Well, I think there's been a lot of debate in multiple states about the so-called red flag laws, which I think you're referring to. I don't think Pennsylvania has one at this point in time, and if they do pass one, it'll be my responsibility as a judge on the Commonwealth Court or on the Supreme Court to evaluate whether the law that's written is constitutional. Right. Certainly, you can read plenty of articles about red flag laws, and you can see both sides of the debates, and it's almost like anything. The real devil is in the details about it. Mm-hmm. But here's the reality: too many people are dying from gun violence. Too many criminals are able to access guns, and everybody should be able to acknowledge that. The question is, how do we resolve it? And I think a lot of it has to do not so much with the courts, but has to do with our frontline prosecutors, our policymakers, getting into the communities where gun violence has just been devastating to families, to communities, and finding out what these communities think they need to provide safer streets for themselves, safer streets for their families, safer communities to raise families. It's devastating every time we hear about a gun death, of a child in particular, but anyone who is innocent and just in the wrong place at the wrong time for some reason. It makes us all sad, and it makes us all want to do something. And that's where our policymakers have to get in there, work with the communities, and find some solutions to some very complicated problems.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but it's just my concern, because I know that it's totally, to me, two different issues. The crime in the streets, the shootings, the robberies, is a different issue than when somebody breaks down. Because if you look at somebody who has committed like Columbine shooting, for one, to me, that's a different issue. There was a breakdown there. There was a breakdown in what was going on with that young man's head. That's one thing. The criminal activity out here, they don't go get the guns. Them guns are coming illegally. They're stolen. They're coming over the border. This is different story. And, it's hard to say, how do we treat these things? You can't take the crime that's happening. If you look at this devastating weekend with all the people that were shot across the country, they're all in the inner cities. The damage is all happening in the inner cities. And that's the scary part of it, because you got governors and mayors that are ignoring, to me, the situation, and they're not telling people the truth. You keep you took away money and defunded police, then the crimes are going up, and you don't see that there's a connection there. You got the crimes in the streets. I mean, the border is screaming. How many people coming across with the drugs and the guns and everything, and they can't stop everybody. And we just got a government that's run amok. And even here, in Pennsylvania, we need somebody in there. I don't know what the answer is. I don't know, but I know we better have the right person in the Supreme Court to take this up. Forget policy, forget the party you're with, anything like that. I think that the inner cities are paying a big price for government not having the right people in the right offices in the right seats. What do you think?
Well, look, I think, again, every innocent life that we lose to gun violence is precious, and we should all grieve it. And when I read stories about a 4-year-old child that was shot for just going down the street, this is just terrible. And you're right, Dave. There are two different issues. You have the criminals that are getting a hold of these weapons illegally, or making them, manufacturing them in a way that's untraceable. And then you have the terrible situations of the mental health crises where people who are in a true crisis are getting a hold of weapons and causing horrendous death as a result of that. It's up for the policymakers. The thing about judges is, as judges, you just want us to be able to review these matters, review these laws, make sure they're constitutional, and then enforce them if they are constitutional. And that's really the commitment that a judge can make, is I will enforce the laws that your General Assembly passes. I will review the criminal convictions with an eye toward the safety of the people and following the law and the protection of constitutional rights. It's up to the people of Pennsylvania to convince their policymakers that something has got to happen to deal with these people to better identify perhaps these people that have mental health issues. We talked about red flag laws. There's a lot of literature about red flag laws out there, and again, the good and the bad and the ugly of that, because there are some pitfalls to those laws. But we got to get our policymakers to pay attention to these issues. I know a lot of them that are some good state representatives in the Philadelphia area too that are very concerned about these things. But on the judicial side, what we can do as judges is realize that we are the ones that are going to enforce those laws, make sure the people that violate those laws do the time that they're required to do in jail, and make sure that they can't harm people again, but ultimately protect everybody's rights to life, liberty, the pursuit of happiness, the pursuit of a living, because that's really where the judges are the backstop for the constitutional rights of the people.
Is there a difference between the Pennsylvania Supreme Court judge and the government itself, Supreme Court, or the big Supreme Court? Is there a difference in who gets to say what? Can they just override the Supreme Court? The Pennsylvania Supreme Court can get overridden at any time?
The Pennsylvania Supreme Court can get reversed by the United States Supreme Court on a federal issue, on a federal constitutional issue. But the Pennsylvania Supreme Court is the last word on Pennsylvania constitutional rights. And that's why when you might remember the congressional redistricting litigation back in 2015 through 2017, I think the decision was issued by the Supreme Court in 2018, redrawing the congressional maps for the next congressional election that year. A lot of people wanted the United States Supreme Court to get involved in that, and the United States Supreme Court didn't. And the reason was the Pennsylvania Supreme Court struck the congressional map as a political gerrymander under the Pennsylvania Constitution. So when that happens, because the Pennsylvania Supreme Court has the last say on that, the United States Supreme Court isn't going to get involved. But in terms of constitutional rights under the United States Constitution, under the Bill of Rights, the Pennsylvania Supreme Court can get reversed by the United States Supreme Court. The United States Supreme Court is the last word on federal law and the United States Constitution.
Wow. Well, I know that your time's up, and we're gonna go and end our segment here. You're more than welcome to come back. You know that. If you want to take on any other of the amendments that we got coming up, you're more than welcome to it. I want you to talk about your campaign, give everybody your information about your campaign, where they can come on, what they can do. Close us out.
Thanks, Dave. I appreciate it. Again, my name is Judge Kevin BARBSON. I'm the President Judge of the Commonwealth Court of Pennsylvania. Happy to serve the people for over 11 years on this important statewide court, making sure government follows the law. Hope you will support me on November 2nd for this one seat on the Pennsylvania Supreme Court. You can visit my website, www.brobsonforpa.com, or follow us on Facebook, Kevin Brobson for PA. Again, would be honored to have your support. Kevin Brobson for Supreme Court Justice on November 2nd. God bless everybody.
Thank you very much. God bless. Tell your family I said hello. And again, if you need me, anybody can also follow us on freedomnottyranny.com website, and Freedom Not Tyranny, our regular show that we're going to have. So we're going to have him on it again, and we're going to have the Honorable Judge continue to come on all through his campaign. And I'm asking everybody, please pay attention to this young man. We need him. He's going to be fair. God bless you. Talk to you, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to An Hour with Dave, a straight shooting talk show that doesn't hold anything back. You either love the show, hate the show, love me, hate me, doesn't matter, but it's the show you want to watch. 1 hour with